You thought you had a great conversation with her. She smiled. She laughed. You both shared a moment. At least, that's what you believed. But then, silence. No reply. No follow-up. No interest. It's as if the entire interaction vanished the second you turned your back. And maybe that's exactly what happened. She forgot you. Just like that. But here's the truth most men don't want to admit. If a woman forgets you that easily, it's not because she's heartless. It's not because she's not serious. It's because, in her mind, you were just like every other guy. Polite maybe, pleasant, but forgettable. You didn't trigger anything inside her. You didn't leave an emotional footprint. And I get it. You think you did your best. You were respectful, you asked questions, maybe even cracked a few jokes. But that's the trap. You were nice. You were available. You were safe. And safe doesn't stick. Safe is not what she remembers at 11 p.m. when she's scrolling through her phone wondering who's worth replying to. But what if I told you that the men she can't stop thinking about, the ones who linger in her mind for days, even weeks, aren't necessarily better looking, richer, or even more charming than you? They just know how to speak in a way that hits differently. In this video, I'm going to reveal exactly how high-value men use silence, timing, emotion, and subtle mystery to leave a woman emotionally hooked, long after the conversation ends. If this sounds like something you've experienced before, if you've ever felt invisible right after doing everything right, then this is for you. And if you're still watching right now, comment yes below. If not, give it 5 minutes. You might start to see what you've been doing wrong. Number 1. The power of absence, why talking too much destroys desire. Here's a brutal truth. Most men talk themselves out of being attractive. Not because what they say is wrong, but because they simply say too much. They overstay the moment, overtext after the conversation, overexplain their thoughts, and ultimately, overexpose themselves. And when you're always available, always talking, always responding within seconds, you leave no room for her to miss you. No space for curiosity. No tension. No wonder she stops replying. High-value men understand this in their bones. They know that in the game of attraction, presence matters, but absence is what seals the deal. It's not just what you do when you're around her that creates impact. It's what she feels when you're not around. That's where most men fail. They want to prolong every interaction, stretch out every text thread, keep the energy alive. And by doing so, they smother it. Let me tell you about Josh. He met a woman at a networking event, great connection, amazing chemistry. They laughed, shared stories, and exchanged numbers. He thought he nailed it. So, he texted her the next morning. And then the next afternoon. Then again that night. All innocent, all polite. But after 3 days of non-stop communication, her energy dropped. She stopped replying. Not because he said something wrong, but because he never gave her time to feel anything in his absence. He never let her wonder. Never let her miss him. High-value men, on the other hand, leave when the energy is high. They exit the conversation while it's still burning, so the flame keeps flickering in her mind. They don't chase. They don't linger. They know that emotional pull isn't created when you're talking to her. It's created after you walk away. That's when she replays the conversation, questions your intentions, and starts feeling drawn to you. But only if you give her that chance. So remember this. If you're always around, she'll never feel the urge to look for you. And if she never has to look, she'll never value what she had. Number 2. Emotional impact, how to leave her shaken. Words are cheap. Anyone can string together a few sentences, ask where she's from, tell her she looks great, and call it a connection. But here's the twist. Women don't remember conversations. They remember how a conversation made them feel. That's the difference between a man who disappears from her mind instantly and a man she keeps thinking about days later without knowing why. High-value men know this. They don't chase small talk. They might use it to break the ice, sure, but very quickly, they steer the conversation somewhere else. Somewhere deeper. Somewhere real. Instead of asking, "What do you do for fun?" they ask, "What's something you've always wanted to do but never told anyone why?" That question alone forces her to pause, reflect, and feel. And that's exactly what leaves a mark. When a woman feels emotionally activated during a conversation, when she laughs, feels curious, surprised, even slightly vulnerable, her brain links that emotional charge with you. And that's what sticks. The content doesn't matter. She might not remember a single word you said, but the emotional roller coaster? That stays with her. Storytelling is another weapon high-value men use, but not to impress. Not to show off their resume, or past achievements. They tell stories to evoke specific feelings. Maybe it's a moment of adventure, like a spontaneous road trip that went hilariously wrong. Maybe it's something vulnerable, a personal struggle they overcame, shared not to gain pity but to show depth. The story becomes a bridge, an emotional mirror. And when she sees herself in it, even a little, she feels something that most men never manage to unlock: genuine connection. And then there's the emotional hook, the unexpected compliment, the moment of shared silence, the phrase that lingers in her mind long after you're gone. I like how you light up when you talk about things that matter to you. Simple, but powerful, because it's not about her looks, it's about her soul. That's the kind of compliment a woman replays in her head at 1 a.m. Most guys aim to impress her mind. High-value men aim for her heart. And when you hit that target, you don't need to follow up. She'll come looking for more. Number 3. The mystery factor. Stop oversharing, start intriguing. Have you ever noticed how the more someone reveals about themselves too quickly, the less interested you become? It's not that the information is bad, it's that it leaves nothing to the imagination. That's exactly what most men do wrong in early conversations. They overshare. They lay everything out like a resume, hoping transparency will earn trust. But what it actually earns is disinterest. High-value men play by a different rule. They understand that mystery isn't manipulation, it's magnetism. They share just enough to spark curiosity, and then they stop. It's not about dodging questions or being evasive. It's about being deliberately incomplete. Because the moment she doesn't have the full picture, her mind starts filling in the blanks. She starts wondering, and wondering leads to thinking, and thinking leads to remembering. Let's say she asks what you do for a living. The average guy responds with a job title, a company, a 5-minute breakdown of his career path. Boring. Predictable. But the high-value man? He might simply say, "It's a little complicated, but I love what I do. I'll tell you more sometime." That one sentence opens a loop. It leaves her with a question. And unanswered questions are powerful. They live in the back of her mind long after the conversation ends. It's not just what you say either. It's how you don't say things. High-value men use silence strategically. They don't rush to explain every little detail. They don't fill every pause. In fact, they let the pause linger, just long enough for her to feel it. That tension? That's intrigue. That's power. One guy tries to impress by showing his full hand in the first 5 minutes. The other leaves a trail of breadcrumbs, hints, tones, subtext. Which one do you think she'll be thinking about when she's lying in bed that night? Mystery creates depth. It suggests that there's more to you than meets the eye. That you're not just another guy checking off boxes. You're a story that's unfolding, slowly, intentionally. And people don't walk away from an unfinished story. They stay hooked, waiting for the next chapter. Number 4. Re-engaging. How to text her the right way. Most men reappear the wrong way. After a great interaction, they either pounce too soon with a dry hey, or they ghost for too long and lose the spark entirely. Either way, they break the flow. They interrupt the rhythm. And worst of all, they look like they're either needy or indifferent. But high-value men? They master the art of re-entry. They don't just show up, they pick up exactly where the emotional thread left off. The difference lies in intentionality. High-value men don't re-engage to see what's up. They re-engage with purpose. They remember something she said, a small detail, a spark of emotion, and they build on it. For example, you mentioned you were starting a new project last time. I've actually been thinking about that. How's it going? That one line does more than reopen a conversation. It shows that you listened, that you cared, that you remembered. And most importantly, it shows that your interest runs deeper than surface level. This kind of message doesn't just say, "I'm back." It says, "I valued what you shared, and I want to understand more." And when a woman feels seen, really seen, she softens. She opens. She welcomes you back in. But timing matters too. High-value men don't rush this. They understand that re-engagement only works if she's had time to feel their absence. If you text her 1 hour after saying goodbye, that's not space, that's suffocation. But if you give her a day, maybe 2, to reflect, to replay, to wonder why you haven't reached out, now your message lands with weight. Now it matters. And when you do return, don't shrink the energy. Don't act hesitant or apologetic. Pick up where you left off, but do it with emotional depth. Skip the small talk. Go right back into connection. Because if the conversation ended strong, your reappearance should feel like a continuation, not a restart. Remember, you're not just texting. You're reigniting a spark. And if you've done things right up to this point, she's already been hoping you would. Number 5. Subtle gestures that speak volumes. Most men think attraction is built on words, on witty lines, clever responses, and impressive stories. But women operate on a different frequency. They read between the lines. They notice the way you stand, how you breathe, whether your eyes are steady or searching. While you're focused on what to say next, she's already drawing conclusions from everything you're not saying. High-value men understand this. They know that small, controlled gestures can say far more than 1,000 words. The way you walk into a room, relaxed but intentional. The way you hold eye contact, not aggressively but confidently. The way you nod when she speaks, not to agree mindlessly, but to show presence. These are all subtle signals, and to the emotionally attuned mind of a woman, they matter. Here's the thing, women are constantly scanning for safety, congruence, and energy. When you fidget, look around the room, or speak too fast, she feels it. She reads it as nervousness, insecurity, or desperation. But when your body is still, when your shoulders are relaxed, and your voice carries calm certainty, she leans in. Not just physically, but emotionally. She feels safer, more curious, more drawn to your energy. It's not about being robotic or trying to look alpha. It's about being grounded, and grounded men create gravity. You don't need to touch her to make her feel close. Sometimes, just sitting in stillness while she speaks can pull her in more than any compliment. Just a glance when she's not expecting it, a slight smile when she finishes a thought, can create a rush that words can't replicate. And the beauty of subtlety? It works beneath her awareness. She may not consciously realize why she feels more at ease around you, why she starts opening up faster, or why she thinks about you later. But it's all there, written in the pauses, the posture, the calm energy you bring. High-value men don't broadcast confidence. They embody it, quietly, naturally, and without needing applause. Number 6. The unspoken language of confidence. Silence wins. Confidence is not about how loud you speak, how bold your jokes are, or how many stories you can cram into one conversation. Real confidence lives in the spaces between your words. It shows up in the way you don't rush to answer, in how comfortable you are with silence, and in how little you feel the need to fill every moment with noise. High-value men don't chase validation with their voice. They let their presence speak first. They know that people who are truly secure don't over-explain, don't overshare, and don't overreact. They speak slowly, not because they're unsure, but because they're in no hurry to impress. That slow, deliberate rhythm creates something powerful. It forces others to lean in. Women are especially sensitive to this. When you're calm and measured, when you're comfortable with letting a moment hang in the air, it signals strength, not dominance, but depth. It says, I don't need to fight for your attention, I already have it. Think of the last time you were around someone who didn't flinch under pressure. Someone who didn't jump in to fill every awkward silence. That person left an impression, didn't they? That's because silence, when used intentionally, is magnetic. It creates space for emotion. It creates tension. And in conversation, tension isn't bad. It's chemistry waiting to ignite. There's a reason why the most captivating people often say less. Their silence isn't empty, it's loaded. Loaded with poise, self-trust, and the unspoken message. I'm enough, exactly as I am. When you speak, let it be with purpose. When you pause, let it be with power. Because confidence doesn't shout, it whispers. And those whispers echo longer than the loudest voice ever could. Number 7. First impressions. The silent impact. There's a moment, just a few seconds long, when a woman decides whether you're different. Not better, not worse, just different. And in that moment, she's not analyzing your outfit, your words, or your hairstyle. She's feeling you. She's reading the energy before the conversation even begins. That's the silent impact of a first impression. And once it lands, it's incredibly hard to reverse. Most men get this wrong. They walk into a room already performing. Their smile is rehearsed, their words overthought, their body language screaming one message. I hope I'm enough. But high-value men, they don't enter looking for approval. They walk in like they belong. No flash, no act, just stillness and presence. It's subtle, but she feels it instantly. The way you hold your posture, the way your eyes meet hers without hesitation, the calmness in your movements. You don't need to speak to be felt, because your presence is your first message. And if that message says, I'm grounded, I'm not here to chase you, I'm here to see if we connect, then you've already separated yourself from 95% of men she's ever met. This isn't about being cold or detached. It's about being centered, because the man who's rooted in himself doesn't need to prove anything. His energy speaks for him, and that energy stays with her, long after you've left the room, long after the words are forgotten. You want her to remember something about you before you even speak. Then focus not on your words, but on your presence. Show up fully but without force. Be calm but not passive. Be aware but not performative. Because in the world of first impressions, the man who says less but means more always wins. You don't need magic words to make her miss you. You don't need pickup lines, overconfidence, or a flawless script. What you need is presence, poise, patience, the ability to make her feel something real, and then walk away before she gets it all. That's what high-value men do. They don't try to impress. They don't chase validation. They create moments, emotional moments, and then they let silence do the rest. The truth is, most guys are forgettable not because they're bad people, but because they're predictable. Too eager, too available, too loud. But the man who knows how to slow down his words, control his emotions, and speak with intention, he becomes a mystery, a feeling, a presence that lingers. When you master emotional impact, when you learn to use mystery and absence, when you embrace the power of subtle gestures and silence, you no longer have to wonder why she's not texting back. Because she is. Or at least, she's thinking about it, replaying that conversation, reliving that moment, hoping for another one. And that's the difference. So stop talking to impress. Speak to connect. Don't explain everything, reveal just enough. Leave her curious. Leave her moved. Leave her wanting more. Because high-value men don't beg for attention. They create it. They don't fight for a woman's interest. They make her feel the loss of their absence. And if this shifted the way you think about connection, then it's time to raise your standard. Subscribe to the Stoic Golden Rule, where we teach not just how to win her over, but how to become the man she never forgets. Now tell me this, what's the one thing you've said to a woman that you wish you could take back? Drop it in the comments, and let's turn those mistakes into mastery.